Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Pete, it's Films and Stuff.
Emergency episode.
Emergency episode. Clue the sirens. Right?
I wish I had a better air horn. I'm so sorry.
You used to have such a good air horn. What happened to your verbal air horn?
Air horn, hair horn.
Yeah. All right. The reason for this emergency episode is for no other reason than season finale, House of the Dragon. I watched it. I'm in Dubai, so I'm 8 hours ahead of New York. So I watched it extremely early on a Monday morning. How about you?
I watched it as I got a message from you that said, we need to do an emergency episode today. I was halfway through the episode.
Okay, so what did you think about the start? Because I thought the start kind of set the tone, right?
First of all, let me just say, I love that little war table that they've got.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing. I took the same note. I said, that table, the candles underneath it is amazing.
I was just like, man, you just know that after this episode, there's going to be a bunch of like woodworkers and like electricians on Etsy making replicas of not just this table, but then being like, we can design you a custom table which lights up from underneath like this, right? I thought it was brilliant.
Man, war was so much cooler back in the day.
Medieval
when
days,
they had, before Google Maps. I mean, back then. And how many wars were won or lost because like they just had like a bad carpenter who like didn't get stuff to scale.
And I loved that they already had pre-made like these chess pieces, I guess, indicating ally or a foe. Yeah. And I really, when you see that table, because the last time we saw that table was in season like 6, 7, and 8 of Game of Thrones, right? Because this was the war table that Daenerys was using when she finally gets to Westeros.
Yeah.
Back then it was dusty. It just looked like a stone table. And now you can see that it was actually lit up. And she's like, well, clearly you don't know what you're missing out here. She didn't find that little light switch.
Light the table.
Yeah. Brilliant.
The war is on. Call the maesters, light the table.
I gotta say, I really liked, and I think this was very well handled by Rhaenyra, in the sense that by all rights, war should have started from the get-go at the beginning of this episode. By all rights. But she was the one who took a conciliatory role from the beginning. I thought it was really Daemon who was pushing to be the aggressive guy, which I don't think is a surprise, right? I think both of us saw that coming.
Yeah.
That's nothing shocking there.
I felt the same. I felt the same way, which is, I guess, going into this episode, I was like all pumped up for war. And then the episode like basically calmed me down a little bit. Like, hold on.
Yeah.
They don't even know that the king is dead yet. And I think we should bookmark that as a separate issue to discuss. But they don't even know that the king is dead. Then Queen Rhaenys, or Princess Rhaenys, goes. She delivers the news. And then I thought that made a lot of sense, which was she explained like, hey, there's going to be a war. It's not my war. And that kind of explained the end of the prior episode that you and I had an issue with. She kind of explained that away.
Yeah, I feel like that was let's put it this way. That was the least objectionable reason that would be accepted as to why she didn't burn it down. But still a weak sauce excuse, in my opinion. But
it is weak sauce.
As a diplomat, I fully agree with her. It wasn't her place to say, I'm going to basically burn down this building. Although, having said that, there wouldn't be a war. Because she would have basically eliminated the opposition in one swoop, right? Like I said, all 5 people were on that dais. No one would have opposed. Like, there's just no way anyone would have opposed them.
I agree. I mean, by not taking a side, she took a side.
Exactly.
Right? Allowing something to happen, you can't say, well, I'm neutral. If you allow it to happen, you're kind of implicitly giving it your blessing,
permission.
Right?
Exactly. And you know, frankly speaking, when the stakes are this high and when you're in such a position, that's the rule of the game. If you allow it to happen, you're basically okay with it happening.
You're complicit.
Yeah.
I think we need to get to the Valerian family at some point as well.
Yeah. So actually, maybe that's a good place to start, right? Because we finally Corlys is. I mean, he's not fine, but he's at least well enough. The fever has broken. It doesn't look like he's going to die.
Yeah.
I think he took his brother's death at Daemon's hand reasonably well, considering the circumstances.
Way too well. He's just like, our family, we're just so ambitious. Dude, your brother was just killed. And you're like, he was so ambitious.
Yeah. So on one hand, I'm with you. Like, it was almost too quick. So quick that it might come back to bite Daemon in the ass later.
Yeah.
But at the same time, his reasoning was also like, well, that's kind of a family trait, because Rhaenys did say he was trying to take your place in the throne. Well, at least at the Driftmark throne.
I mean, the whole thing, I think, kind of doesn't really sit right with me. I mean, I guess the brother kind of died needlessly. I mean, he started a argument that, to be honest, was a little bit, like, not ripe yet. Corlys wasn't dead yet.
Yeah.
And he was already arguing about succession, which I think is kind of in bad taste.
Yeah.
And then he goes and gets himself killed, which doesn't do anything. I mean, you know my feelings about that. He could have probably commanded the fleet and just left and created a different fight. And then Corlys is okay. His wife, basically says, hey, whatever my husband wants to do. And he says, even though Daemon killed my brother, and even though I've been violently opposed, to this family for the longest time, rather than just kind of like retire to Driftwood and be content, which is what he wanted, like in the prior sentence, he says, let's go ahead and support Viserys. I'm not sure why it supports Viserys, because he didn't like Viserys at all. Viserys spurned him and spurned his daughter. And now he's saying, well, let's support Rhaenyra and Daemon. I really didn't understand at all what is his rationale for doing that.
And this is going to sound like my weak sauce argument, but you now really have two reasonable rationales. One, he took an oath, right? He made a promise that he would defend Rhaenyra, or at least stand for her. That's one, which again is a little bit weak sauce, but it's appropriate given the Baratheons have basically broken that oath. I mean, all of them have, but like of the three houses that Rhaenyra thought would be on her side, the Baratheons are not. And then the second reason is that he still has two legitimate granddaughters, right? Laena's daughters, Daemon and Laena's daughters.
Yeah.
They're now married into this branch of the family.
He should have just said that then. He should have just said, you know what? I really hate Daemon. He killed, first of all, his son was killed by Rhaenyra, right? His brother was killed by Daemon. And still he's willing to overlook that. He should have said, I hate I hate the mom and the dad, but I want my two granddaughters to eventually be queens, so I'm going to support the family.
Yeah.
If you would have done that, okay.
Yeah. And again, I'm with you. It's a little bit of a weak sauce argument, but at least it's the least objectionable, reasonable logic.
Yeah. Do you think that if they're a pawn on this candlelit chessboard, do you think they're still in play, the Valyrians?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Because they are also dragon riders.
I mean, do you think they can be swayed, or are they absolutely going to stay loyal to Daemon and
No, I think at this point they're in it. Again, at this kind of high-stake poker game, you don't bluff when you're already holding a pair of aces. And they have, again, the most dominant navy. They've got dragon riders. There's no reason for them to feint or bluff in this regard. Having said that, I can totally see Corlys or Rhaenys going after Daemon, or maybe even Rhaenyra in the future when victory is kind of assured, to say this is for Laenor.
Yeah.
And we spoke about this maybe 3 episodes ago when we saw Laenor, shaved head escaping to Essos. He's going to come back.
I agree.
You don't make a point of showing him escaping.
I agree.
And then let him live his happily ever after. He's going to come back. And when he does, that's going to set up either Rhaenyra clearly didn't kill him, but she still betrayed us. So she kind of played us in a different way. Or he comes back because, Sea Smoke, he made that point to say Sea Smoke is riderless and is kind of just running around Driftmark. Can you imagine if at the most pivotal moment in season 2 or season 3, all of a sudden you see Sea Smoke come in with Rhaenyra on its back and absolutely lay waste and save the day, just like he did in episode 2 or 3 when he saved Daemon's ass against the Crab King.
I agree with you. Rhaenyra is coming back, and that makes kind of sense what you're saying. It puts a bad taste in my mouth for Rhaenyra to be any type of hero.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah. You abandon your two nieces, you abandon your mom and your dad, you abandon your wife, you abandon kind of your adopted kids, fake your death,
just so that
kind
you
of
can
implicate your wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and now you're going to come back when it's convenient for you and you can be the hero.
Yeah. Or, again, like I said, this is Game of Thrones after all. He comes back, plays double agent and says, I'm going to work with Alicent. He stabs them in the back somehow.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways they can go about
he
this.
He may be angry at Daemon for basically forcing him out, right?
So this is a question because they never showed this explicitly. I went on the side to say that because Daemon had kind of cooled down based on, his marriage to Laena, and he had kind of become more of a husbandly man. My feeling, and I know you went the other way, you thought that he kind of forced him out and gave him that. I went with the other way to say, hey, Daemon's giving him this money and giving him an option without having to die, like it was premeditated.
I agree, but if you look at even how Daemon acted in this episode where he talks to his King's Guard, right?
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I want to give you guys a choice, right? You can either swear your loyalty to me or, dragon in the background, die an honorable death. Your choice. Either one is cool with me.
Yeah.
Choose. Free to choose, right?
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. I feel like that's the choice that Daemon gave to Rhaenyra, which is option number 1, take the money, go away. Option number 2, I'm going to slit your throat.
Yeah.
No,
and I agree. So that's what I'm saying is that for me is the correct interpretation. Yeah. I think you fall into the more, this is a menacing way of doing it. And I fell more into the, hey, buddy, you're gay. You're not happy here. This is a loveless marriage for you. Let me give you an alternative way to get out of this. And then you escape.
You saw the carrot.
Exactly. I was heavily leaning towards the carrot, and I think you were heavily leaning towards the stick.
Okay, so the teams are mostly drawn now, right? And I guess we have...
There's a few question marks, but I imagine we'll get those answers in the first episode of season 2. The 3 question marks that we had at the beginning of this episode were, where do the Starks fall?
Yep.
Where does the Vale fall? And where does the Baratheons fall? Stormfront.
Baratheons are clear.
He told Lucerys to basically go to hell, right?
Yep.
And don't you dare remind me of my father's oath, which is that, by the way, the way he spoke, I knew he was either going to die at the end of this episode or he was going to die very nicely, as in with a sense of gratification for us as viewers, because he was very much such a jerk about it. And the guy is just a messenger. He's just a kid. And I felt so bad for him.
Is Rhaenyra a bad mom?
No.
Is she a bad mom?
I don't think so. Because the older one definitely wanted to do this mission. And fundamentally, it is the right thing to do politically. If you're trying to shore up your allies, you don't send a messenger. You send someone of importance.
He's important by name, but it's true. I mean, how old is he? 10?
Probably, maybe 15 at the oldest.
I think we need to have a separate discussion on Rhaenyra is arguably, supposedly, the main character and the person that we're all supposed to feel sympathetic to. She's
definitely by the end of this episode, 100%.
Right? But she hasn't made any good decisions since we've met her.
But that's what I mean. I think this was the episode that showed that she is, when she like sitting down and thinking about it, she's very capable, right? Because Corlys was like, well, are you not going to act? He's like, oh, I'm going to act. But I prefer to act knowing all the question marks on the field. Fundamentally, what you and I predicted would happen, well, you more than me, because you thought it was going to happen. I didn't think so. I said it's too early, but it happened, right? I mean, spoiler alert, Lucerys, because of Aemond, or indirectly because of Aemond, bites the dust.
Yeah.
And you called it. You said one of the kids is definitely going to die. I didn't think so. I thought that it's too early. I thought this was going to be something they'd save for season 2 after a time jump when they're a little older and a little bit more capable. And I still didn't think it was going to happen. I really thought that it was going to be Lucerys' dragon that was going to bite it. I really thought that what was going to happen was he was going to, get his wing bit off or like burned off. He was going to spiral into the ocean because when they came out into that clear blue sky, I thought that was a wonderful visual, and I thought he was just going to go plummeting down. He'd get hurt, but he would survive.
Amazing scene, huh?
Oh, fantastic! A good way of doing tension. Rings of Power should take notes. That was a great way of showing tension.
Yeah, unrealistic as hell. I thought it was nice that, when Lucerys landed in Storm End, you saw his dragon, and he's a small kid, and he got off his dragon, and then you saw Vhagar in the background, and he's huge,
massive. He's the biggest dragon known,
Yeah. And then right away, something is up, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't know it was Vhagar, but I knew obviously someone else was there.
Yep.
And then when he left, I thought it was raining. Of course, everything dramatic happens in the rain in life, right?
Of course.
But I thought the way that he spoke to his dragon was so cool. Like, look, you've got to focus. You've got to listen to me. Just be calm. Like, for me, that was a really nice moment to show, like, the relationship between the dragon and the rider, right? And then you could see, like, hey, this guy's got a dragon, but it's just like having like a small Peugeot on the freeway versus like a big
Hummer
dump truck. Yeah. Like, it's not all dragons are equal. This one's nothing.
Yeah. And
then
what was great about this episode was that you can at least see that relationship between the dragon and Lucerys. Conversely, you also see the lack of control that Aemond has with Vhagar, right? Or Vhagar, or whatever, however you pronounce these names.
So that's one of the things that I was reading about a lot today, because I was really confused by the scene. I didn't understand why. The way that I saw it first was that Lucerys attacked Vhagar. Like, he could have gotten away, but instead he came back and he attacked him needlessly. And then Aemond is like, now I'm taking you down. And then when I watched it again, then I kind of saw that it seemed like Lucerys was telling his dragon, like, hey, like, don't go after the guy. Listen to me.
We have to get out of here. Yeah.
Yes. And it was his dragon that wanted to start the fight. And then Aemond was trying to control his dragon and saying, no, dude, like, don't retaliate.
Yes, exactly. That's how I took it as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I've come out, which is it was kind of unintentional, and you've got control over your dragons, but dragons are still animals at the end of the day. They're going to do what they want to do. That being said, why is Aemond, like, surprised or upset that there was a death? I mean, he was chasing the guy.
That's a question.
Was he just trying to, like...
I think it was a question of, I'm going to try to intimidate my little nephew.
Yeah.
But I think the reason he looked upset at the end of it, when he sees the bodies flying down, or falling down rather, is because he knows he's crossed the line. And this is the start of war. because his mom had basically orchestrated a bloodless coup. At least up until this point, Rhaenyra had not responded. She was in fact-finding mode, right? She was gathering information. She was looking. You remember we talked about this in yesterday's episode where we were talking about. I thought that they were going to attack King's Landing first and then do diplomacy later.
Yeah.
In fact, they went the other way around, right? Daemon wanted to find a way to attack, and he was strategizing. He said, "We've got 13 dragons to their 3, so we can, and again, this is like they're using the dragons as basically battalions and pawns, right? So we can surround King's Landing and we can really effectively knock them out this way or another, that way, And whereas she said, no, we need to know who's going to fight on our sides first. And I really didn't see that coming. I honestly thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought they were going to make a break for the castle. I thought they were going to go after King's Landing, decimate the place, or at least attack heavily. And that was going to be the start of the war. In fact, it was the most, not subtle, because it was obviously not subtle, but it was the smallest of the potential actions, which is Aemond is the one who's now kicked off this war.
I mean, I guess that's the idea we're supposed to get at the end, which is like now Rhaenyra finds out that her son died.
Yep. You see the slow zoom in on her face.
Now she's gonna flip.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think she recognizes now diplomacy is off the table.
I mean, diplomacy was never really on the table if she wanted to get the Iron Throne back.
No,
right?
That's true. But at the same time,
yeah.
Alicent did make an offer in what she considered to be good faith.
Yeah.
Because remember, Otto did not want to make that offer. Otto wanted to, as you rightly pointed out to me,
kill her.
Otto wanted to get all of them off the table. And the best way to do that is to kill everybody. So she made a reasonable offer in good faith. Or maybe not a reasonable, but she made an offer in good faith, right? Which I think is, in the grand scheme of things, is a terrible offer.
I didn't see anything. I agree. I didn't see anything attractive about the offer either. It did basically give them anything that they didn't already have.
Exactly. Because Daemon also made that point. He's like, hey, this place, even with limited people, it's an easily defendable place. We've got a couple of dragons, and I think they said we only have 30 knights, but we can still defend this place because it's still a boat ride away.
I mean, there wasn't really much to give them, though. But I mean, is Rhaenyra just as weak as her father, Viserys? I mean, I know you say, she's strategizing, but what has she really done?
No, exactly. So I think this is but that's my point is I think this is going to be the the switch that got flipped. I think the death of her second son is, and that too at the hands of her brother. I think this is where she's like, all right, you're dead to me. Your entire family branch is dead to me. Anyone that's has any reasonable relationship with Alicent is dead to me. I thought that when we saw Otto approach with the offer, I thought he was a dead man. I thought he was going to be dead, and I thought that was going to be the instigation of war.
Yeah, I was kind of bored by that scene. I mean, we've seen that scene before, right?
It was exactly a parallel to the first episode. It was exactly the parallel.
Yeah. I mean, I just kind of thought that was like, oh, we've kind of seen this before, right? Yep. One comes from one side, the other comes from the other side. Yep. Someone enters on a dragon. Daemon stands before his guards. Everyone kind of pulls out their swords. Everyone puts them away. It wasn't as powerful. I mean, do you see Rhaenyra now this is where she just goes like berserk?
Yeah. And
she loses it. And it's kind of like her downfall as well.
Yep.
Like
I think this is the beginning of the mental madness that is the Targaryen bloodline, which is why I was a bit surprised and shocked to see how Alicent behaved. Do you remember when she cuts Rhaenyra's hand after Aemond loses his eye? Because you saw that madness in her. So I was a bit surprised to see that. I think this is now where we see, or I hope, to be honest. And the reason I hope is because I feel the same way about Rhaenyra as I think you do, but I'm perhaps being a little more diplomatic about it. She's been a bit bland.
I have really mixed emotions on Rhaenyra. I mean, I cheer for Alicent and the Greens more than Rhaenyra. Although I don't
even after this episode.
Rhaenyra, even after this episode,
really?
What I dislike about Rhaenyra is I feel like she's such a bad decision maker, right? I mean, she was the Queen Regent for years, And all she did was mope around and sulk and feel bad for herself. And she kind of admitted as much. Then, her father's in terrible health. She's not with her. She's got the relationship with Strong, right? Which was a disaster. It created all sorts of illegitimate children. Her father was sick. And honestly, she had to have known that there was going to be some type of coup if she's not in the castle itself. You had to have seen this coming, right?
And by the way, you and I both did see it coming.
Yeah. Her feelings are hurt, so she says, hey, I'm going to leave. When her dad is obviously like any day now going to, first of all, just for your father's sake, right? Not for even the crown. You should be with your dad every day. You should be with him every day. There's no reason to leave, And secondly, you have to know that there's going to be some type of coup attempt if you're not there physically present. She should have moved her whole family in and been there.
Especially given the fact that she knew that Otto would try something like this.
Yes.
So why wouldn't you install someone as a hand after Strong died?
I agree. So I feel like she's just been
tactically very weak.
Yes. And then, Lucerys honestly both of her sons, to be honest, are decent guys. But to send Lucerys, honestly, on this mission, I know she says you're just an envoy, you'll be well received, it's so easy, it's a short flight. But you could see, when he got there, what a suicide mission your mom sent you on, right? Okay, yes, you have a big name. You could have gone with someone. You could have gone with a guard. There's a lot of different ways to have played this. Daemon is nowhere to be found. You're letting your husband again, Daemon tries to choke her. You let him get away with that. You send your youngest son to a far off place and now he's ambushed. It's bad decision after bad decision. So it's really hard for me to be sympathetic to her and to like her. But I do feel like her house is going to win this thing. They're going to somehow crush Alicent. It's just who survives the carnage.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think you're absolutely right. I'll go one step further with what you're saying. I think that this entire season has really been more about Rhaenyra doing whatever the hell she wants, consequences be damned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And up until this episode, everybody else has been paying for her consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
The guy she cheated on, so her gay husband is exiled.
Strong died.
Right. Her gay husband is exiled. Her affair partner is killed. The hand that she helps choose is killed. Her kid.
She had a miscarriage and she lost middle child.
You can't blame her for that. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Her second son has now been killed. Everybody else has paid for her inactions or for her actions or her misadventures or her misgivings, whatever it is. I think now with her son dying, this is where she's like, okay, I now understand that what I choose to do has consequences. I lost my son because of it. And I think this is where we kind of see, I hesitate to use the word redemption arc, but I see a change, an arc over the next couple seasons where you now see her not just be strategically appropriate, because we already started to see that from the beginning of this episode where she was being a little diplomatic, but you also see a little bit of that madness climb in and she becomes like the Targaryen who's just like, listen.
Bloodthirsty.
Yeah. And I think after I saw this episode, you know how we talked about, Targaryens are fireproof or are theoretically fireproof if they're chosen like Daenerys was? I have a sneaking suspicion they're saving that. Even though we've kind of talked about a couple places where that could have happened in this season, I think they're saving that for a really pivotal moment. I don't know if it would be inappropriate, but I think what would help Jacaerys legitimize that is because he is half Targaryen. Imagine if he was the one in a pivotal fight scene with Aemond or with Aegon, he gets burned, but he emerges unscathed. And then all of a sudden, his illegitimacy questions go out the window because he says, well, I survived Dragonfire.
Yeah.
So that could be a potential. Again, I don't know. I'm reading into it. We still have at least another 3 seasons more of this.
I have to say, where do we get 3 more seasons from?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, where do you see us starting season 2?
I guess I see this as there's going to be an all-out assault. I'm not sure if it's going to be starting with a bang or if it's just going to be the preparation for that assault, and you see the machinations of how they plan for everything, and they shift to Alicent, and Alicent deals with Aemond, and they start to fortify their defenses. It may just shift episode to episode, but I feel like there's going to be an all-out assault. It's going to be swift, but I still think we need some fissures. So if I'm making like a hot take or a hot prediction, either Aemond or Aegon is going to die in this assault. One of those two.
Time jump or no time jump?
I don't think there's going to be much of a time jump. Okay. Unless they just show the time jump and suddenly, you see Rhaenyra sitting on the Iron Throne and you're like, hey, we took it over. What do you think of that?
I don't see that happening at all. I don't see her taking the Iron Throne so quickly, because I think that I think becomes the MacGuffin for this fight over the next 3 seasons.
But I'm just wondering out loud though, if you're going to actually have, how would this go down? You're actually going to have kind of the dragons basically just like breathe fire and like kill everybody? Like what's their invasion strategy for getting rid of Aegon? And it's really just Aegon. That's who they have to get rid of, right? They have to get rid of Aegon.
Well, no. They have to get rid of all 3 of them. Has to be Aegon, Aemond, and Helaena.
Okay, fine. So, what's the strategy? They're just gonna... How would you do it? Like, what do you think Rhaenyra is going to do?
So, we saw them lay it out. We saw Corlys. And I think this is a brilliant thing to do, because I think Corlys is going to become kind of the hand for Rhaenyra at this point. It's something that I actually thought Daemon was going to do.
Those two are not going to be on the same page.
No, they're definitely not.
They're eventually going to come to a head, right?
There's going to be some kind of clash, right? Because how can you forgive the guy who you think has orchestrated the murder of your son?
I like Corlys, but I feel like Corlys is still a free agent.
Yes, even though he claims to do that.
Yeah.
I have a sinking feeling that there's going to be a double cross or a triple cross down the road.
Yeah. I feel like even if he's putting in like this, it seems like he's putting in like this blockade of the narrow seas, which I guess is supposed to like prevent trade going to the
bringing
King's
in of
Landing.
Supplies, right? At least by ocean, which for me, I thought the way he had structured that, I think that's great. And you can see where his experience is coming into play.
Yes.
Before he even left Driftmark, he had already said, hey, I've already set up the blockade, so it should happen by tomorrow if it already hasn't today. So, which I think we all saw the surprise in everyone's face. I didn't expect that either. So that way, I think he's
that's really interesting that you said. He didn't even but that's interesting that you say that, Pete. He didn't even proclaim... He didn't even know what was going on. He didn't proclaim a loyalty, and he already said, hey, the blockade's in place. He also seems like the guy who's like, hey, the blockade's in place. They're like, hey, how are all these goods getting into King's Landing? I don't know, smugglers or something. And he's like cut a deal with Lannister or someone where he's like letting everything in, and it's just for show to Rhaenyra that he says he's overseeing this blockade. Right?
Again, I don't see that for this. I see him, if there's going to be a betrayal by Corlys, which I think there is.
Yeah.
I don't see it on something fundamentally basic like this. I see it at a much more subtle, strategic thing.
Okay.
And by the way, I also don't think that if there's going to be a betrayal, I don't think Rhaenys is going to be okay with it. I think that's where they're going to butt heads. Rhaenys versus Corlys. I don't. She seems like the type of person who is like, if I'm in it, I'm in it with you. And since my husband has said we're in it, I'm ride or die, basically. The way that he's kind of blockaded the water, and then with their 13 dragons, well, I guess now 12 dragons, plus the eggs that they've got, they can effectively surround King's Landing and stop the flow of goods and supplies and basically starve them out, right?
I mean, they're really starving the people, though, right?
Yeah, but that's the point. Ultimately, that's exactly the point, right? It's the equivalent of sanctions in today's world in the real world. You foment an insurrection or you foment a rebellion by denying access to basic goods and services to the whole country, because the leadership is always going to be fine.
I mean, it's kind of ugly, though. I have to say. Maybe this is why the Targaryens eventually lost the throne, which is it's really tough to say, hey, this person is the king. I'm going to starve all you people until you get rid of the king and you appoint me, and now you should love me. Let's forget that I forced you to do this. I mean, that's
also
ugly,
what the
right?
Lannisters did in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
They also were blockading the city. Obviously, I'm not a 5-star general or any kind of general. In fact, I don't even think they go up to 5 stars. But I feel like this is a common war tactic.
Yeah, I agree.
So I
think it's...
Yeah, I don't see this as something like, oh, well, this is inhumane. I think this is just a war tactic. And as bad as it is, it's also just a way of life.
Do you want another hot take I've got?
Yes, I want all the hot takes, please.
Now that Lucerys is dead,
yep,
his wife, who I guess is Bela, needs a husband. What do you think of Aemond?
What, as a way to broker peace?
Or just as a power play?
But a power play conducted by who?
By Alicent, by Aemond. I mean, I know Aemond said he's going to marry this other... Or by Corlys.
That could be a very interesting way for Corlys to do a backstab, by the way.
There has to be... What I'm trying to think of is that I definitely feel like Rhaenyra's going to take over the Iron Throne. I don't know exactly when. I don't know exactly how she's going to take over.
Rhaenys or Rhaenyra?
Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
But there still has to be... There has to be one member of Alicent's family still that remains and tries to undermine them. And there has to be some type of fission in Rhaenyra's family, whether it's Daemon or whether it's, among all of her different kids. Otherwise, this doesn't go 3 seasons.
Let me give you 2 scenarios and you tell me what you think is the most likely. So we know at the end, or at the very beginning of Game of Thrones and at the end of House of the Dragon's lineage, we know that Ned Stark and Baratheon, I can never remember his first name. Robert, yeah. We know that Ned and Robert, together with the help of some of the Lannisters, including Jaime, kill the Mad King Aegon.
Yep. It was Aegon Targaryen, yeah.
Obviously, it's not going to be this Aegon because this is 170 years before. Right. So the 2 scenarios are, 1, at the end of House of the Dragons, there is one defined Targaryen lineage that then goes unbroken for the next 170 years. Correct. Or scenario 2, the show kind of ends with Rhaenyra on the throne, or with whoever, the winner on the throne, and there's always a Targaryen in the wings waiting to battle it out when it seems fit.
I think it's going to be under Rhaenyra's family. There's going to be fissions,
okay.
And I think the fissions are going to be, again, because she's got 3 sets of kids.
Yeah,
she's got the strong kids. She's got kind of Daemon and Laena's 2 girls.
Yeah, the adopted girls.
And then she's got Daemon and Laena's
actual kids,
right? And I feel like among those kids, they're going to be battling in terms of who actually has the rightful claim to the throne. And I think that whenever someone dies, there's going to be among those 7 or so, 5 now, there's going to be like disagreements in terms of who is next in line based on age and based on, shall we say, purity of Targaryen blood, right?
So we're thinking it's going to be scenario 2.
Yeah, I think
which would then theoretically imply that it's perhaps Alicent's ancestors who run away and are stowed away on Essos?
Probably, right? Makes a little bit more sense. I mean, somehow Helena is not fully explored yet.
Oh, I think we're going to see a lot more of her. I think there's going to be a lot more like mysticism, more magical affectations of hers.
Or premonitions or something, right? Something is coming with Helena. But I think it would be interesting if Aemond, whether it's out of peace or whether it's just him being cheeky, goes to Bela and says, hey, like, I killed your husband. You don't have anyone. Like, you and me, like, let's do this, you know? I'm going to take out my brother. I'm going to be king. You be the queen. We'll shore up all this nonsense.
And I don't see it happening, but I mean, story-wise, it's a phenomenal way for Corlys to get exactly what he wants.
Yeah.
A daughter on the throne.
Yeah. Yeah. There has to be a break in Rhaenyra's family, either between her and Daemon or among her kids. There has to be a break in that family because this just doesn't go 3 years if they're going to be battling Alicent's 2 sons. There's just not enough.
You made a great point let me ask you, where do you see Daemon and Rhaenyra, by the way? They have some kind of weird abusive relationship going on, right? He's choking her. He's what? What's he doing here?
This is always Daemon, though. I mean, we've seen this from episode 1, really, right? He's very moody, and he doesn't like when anyone else has more power or more control than him. You know, and I feel like if she's going to be the queen and he's going to be, you know, Prince Philip, right? Whatever that role is, he's going to have a real problem. And either he's going to take it out and he's going to be just this savagely brutal king's guard. And Rhaenyra's going to say, dude, like, stop it. You can't stop just like beating everyone, you know, tone it down a little bit. And they're going to have words over that. Or he's going to start like managing his way. And she's going to find out that he's going behind her back and giving orders and giving commands and using her power and using her name. And they're going to have words. But one way or another, those two, I feel, are headed for a very, very nasty split. Mm. And when that happens, I also think that's going to kind of fracture the kids. I mean, she's got her one kid now. No one's heard from Joffrey, right? It's basically Jacaerys. He's got his 2 girls. And then they've got the 2 or the 3 that they share.
No, the third passed. The third was a stillborn.
Yeah, so they've got the 2. So, I mean, he's important, though, because he's the only man in this whole show. Like, proper able-bodied man who can deal with dragons, who can do everything.
Aemond.
Right? There's apart from him and Aemond, there's no one else, right?
I mean, they're the 2 warriors of the group, one on each side. Yeah, absolutely. Because Aegon definitely
too old
isn't.
Or too young. Yeah.
And even the ones who aren't young that way, like you saw that with Jacaerys. Jacaerys is now, you see him do a little bit of fighting at the beginning of this episode when he's training. Yeah. So you see that I don't think he's anywhere near the same level as Aemond. But in terms of ability, it's much more than what you and I had seen in the last 9 episodes, right?
Yeah.
We've always said that they were a little bit on the soft side. They were more diplomatic than they were warriors. And then you see him kind of be brutal with the training. So you can see that there's a little bit of it there. Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking outside the box. But I don't know how long I see Matt Smith staying around. Do I see Matt Smith, the actor, staying around for 4 seasons of a TV show? I'm not sure.
I mean, do we need 3 more years of him?
Well, that's what I'm saying, which is, for me, it would imply that if we don't, or if he wants to, go off and make his own movies and do his other things, then at some point he's got to go down in battle too, right?
Yeah. I think then, if I'm just guessing, I think it's most likely Rhaenyra just sentences him to death. And we see how brutal she really is, where she has like really zero bandwidth for any opposition. Anyone who doesn't do exactly what she says, fall into line with her, fall into step, follow her commands. Anyone who undermines her, she just eliminates.
Yeah, I think that could be the
whether
effect
it's her
of her
kids, her husband, anyone, and she just isolates herself within
the descent into madness, basically.
Yeah, it's like a nightclub, and then there's a VIP area, and then a smaller VIP area, and then you're just surrounded by your own velvet rope. And I think she's just going to be surrounded by her own velvet rope where she's one of one and isn't allowed to have anyone close to her advising her. She's just not going to trust anyone. Oh, can we do a head count of dragons? The Greens have 3, which are Aegon has Sunfire, Aemon has Vhagar, Helena has Dreamfire. Then the Blacks, they say they have 13, but that's not necessarily true. Here's the breakdown. Rhaenys has Malice.
Yep.
Rhaenyra has Syrax. Daemon has Caraxes. Then Sea Smoke is kind of
unclaimed,
a free agent,
but he's unclaimed on Driftwood or Driftmark.
Yeah, Jacaerys has Vermax, who we've never seen and we think is kind of small. Lucerys and Arax are gone, right? Baela has 1. Joffrey has 1. And there's then 2 that are unclaimed, and then they say that there's 3 who are wild.
And they also had a bunch of eggs.
And they say there's eggs. So Rhaenyra says, hey, who are the riders for all these other ones? Daemon's like, I don't know. But then you see him go down into the crypt and try to make friends with 1. So really, I'd say that they've kind of got 3 at their disposal. But those 3 are pretty big. Rhaenys, Rhaenyra, Daemon, those 3 are definitely, in theory, should be able to take Aemon's Vhagar.
Yeah, plus, I think what's important is I question how many are in the dragon pit in King's Landing. I think there aren't going to be
That's
many.
an unknown.
It's an unknown, but I don't think there are going to be any in there.
Yeah.
And at best, there are going to be some dragons there, but they definitely don't have any other Targaryen riders. That's the other problem is that they don't have any riders. At least you still have some theoretical riders and owners in the Dragon's Keep. That's another question mark.
Yeah. So I kind of see it as Aemond versus the 3. I see it as 3-1. I don't really see that there's realistically 13.
Perhaps, but also I think what'll be interesting to see is that Vhagar or Vhagar, whatever, however you pronounce these dragons' names, used to also belong to Baela's mom.
Yeah, true.
I'm wondering if she's able to steal him back.
Maybe.
Okay, so before we log off, let's take a dragon's view on this. What did you think, not just of this episode? How are you feeling after having watched 10 episodes this entire season? Are you on a high? Are you on a low? Is this a must subscribe? Is this a mooch? Has there, where do you stand on this?
I think it's been 10 incredible episodes. I love it. Among my favorite shows. It's an absolute must subscribe. My 2 slight criticisms are, I do agree, after much contemplation, that when I watch this on my laptop, it looks fine. When I plug my laptop into my television, it looks really pixelated.
Oh,
when I did the same thing with Rings of Power, no issues at all. It looked stunning. I do have to say, whatever camera they're using is not really getting the job done. But again, it doesn't diminish my must subscribe rating. My second, and it's not really criticism, it's more of a question, is given the time jumps that we've had, I'm really not sure where we get 5 more seasons of this.
30 more episodes. So if what George R. R. Martin has said is correct, there's 3 more episodes of 10 each.
I don't know where we get 3 more seasons. God bless them that they get 3 more seasons out of it. But I mean, given what we've done now, I guess we're going to change the entire cast again. I don't know. It's a question. I just don't know.
Okay.
But I love it otherwise. And you?
It's a must subscribe for me as well. I said in yesterday's episode that this rivals For All Mankind in terms of excitement for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to change that slightly, the caveat. The caveat is I think that For All Mankind, generally speaking, what we've seen with For All Mankind is that the levels of excitement rise and crescendo at the finale every season. And I think House of the Dragons is taking a longer term view where it's building up to something over the course of seasons rather than over the course of a single season. So, because I don't want to say that this was an anticlimactic ending. It had everything we expected it to have, but it didn't leave me satisfied either. Again, and that's not a bad thing, by the way, because I think what they're basically doing is they're building up to something epic in seasons 2, 3, and 4. Be it battle scenes, be it particular deaths, be it a dragon on dragon dogfight of some kind. I think we're going to get some unbelievable moments of not just action but good drama. Whereas I think For All Mankind tends to wrap everything up with a nice bow by the end of the 10th episode every season, so that, it's kind of like you breathe a sigh of relief at the end of the 10th episode and you're just like, all right, I'm ready for next season.
Pete, true or false? This show would be better if Daemon were not married to Rhaenyra. I think better.
I think true.
Because then you could still get their sexual tension involved. But again, 3 ways are always better, right?
Yeah.
When you said For All Mankind, you really put the pin in it, which is whenever there's a 3-way race, it's way more interesting than Alicent versus Rhaenyra, the Greens versus the Blacks. If you've got Daemon as black, Rhaenyra as red, Alicent as green, Viserys died, and Daemon's like, no way, it's mine.
Yep.
I've got a dragon, my daughter's got a dragon, it's mine, right? Corlys, Rhaenys have to choose sides. Rhaenyra and her sons are like, no way, this is ours. For me, way more unknowns. Now I feel like Rhaenyra's going to take the throne. I'd be really surprised if she doesn't. And I guess I could come up with some ways why she does not. But if she's really willing to call in all her chits and use all her dragons, I don't see how she cannot force her way to the throne.
It would certainly make the show a lot more dramatic and tense, because you would rarely see all 3 sides in on a piece of action. So even if there's conclusion, it's kind of like, there's still more to come, because, hey, what's Daemon up to this week? Or, hey, what's Rhaenyra up to this week? Or, hey, what's Alicent up to this week? Whereas in this case, I guess it's much more binary, right? And you're not wrong in that regard too. Realistically, they have kind of set it up. Whether this happens or not is irrelevant at this point. But really, the showrunners have really set it up in such a way that you feel sympathy now for Rhaenyra. Whereas before, I think over the 9 episodes, we were kind of always like, some days I like Rhaenyra, some days I like Alicent. In this scenario, the way they've ended it, especially with the young boy who was truly innocent, who was scared, who was unsure of himself, and the mother is there to kind of comfort him and says, hey, you can do this, you're a Targaryen, blah, blah, blah. He gets taken out. You've basically telegraphed to the audience that you want everyone on Rhaenyra's side. Now, the great subversion would be if she turns out to be the Mad Queen and she goes on a rampage, and then that kind of pushes everyone back to Alicent's side. But at least right now, for the next 11 months, we are meant to be Team Rhaenyra.
Can I add another potential subversion?
Mm-hmm.
What they did with Aemond being down by Storm's End first, I thought was pretty clever, and kind of highlights that Alicent seems to be more...
That could have been Otto, though. That could have been Otto.
Yeah, it could have been Otto.
Yeah.
But let's say the High Towers.
Yeah.
The High Towers are pretty good at stuff like that.
They foresaw that chess move, right?
If you expect now that Rhaenyra is going to be bloodthirsty, seeking revenge, they're going to do this all-out assault on the castle, what's the likelihood that they kind of abandon the castle the castle's like empty and you see like everyone's storming it and making this big assault. And like, wait a second, everyone's gone and it's like booby trapped, or all these harpoons come out, or like that green fire or something, right? And it's kind of like this sneak attack. And Rhaenyra's like, wait a second, we had 13 dragons, whatever the number is. We lost 5. I lost Daemon. All my soldiers died. Like, oh, I really got, bamboozled there.
I don't see it happening. Not at King's Landing.
Oh, really?
I see that happening somewhere else, but not at King's Landing.
All right.
Your home palace and the seat of the throne of the entire world is not the place for you to do a tactical feint.
That's a very good point, though. Is it instrumental to us? I mean, we can't take this from Game of Thrones because it's 162 years later, but we can, right?
It's the seat of power. Sitting on the Iron Throne means something, especially to the working class peasants. Whoever sits on that throne is the de facto leader.
But then do you think that Rhaenyra is going to take her dragons and just like physically attack Aegon in the palace?
Well, that's what I thought would happen in this episode, but clearly it didn't.
Yeah. I mean, are they going to risk damaging that palace, right? I mean, do we know anything about this palace?
Well, at the moment, there's no cost for them to do that. There's absolutely no cost because they're not occupying the throne anyways.
We need to come up with the films and stuff throne.
It'll be the first throne, or it'll be the first kingdom to have 2 thrones.
That's true. Oh man, I really enjoyed this. I'm sad to see it end. I'm really sad to see it end for another at least 1 year.
This is why I took the mark away from the comparison away from For All Mankind. For All Mankind, every season ends kind of complete. You don't have to worry. You wonder what's going to happen next season as an arc, not as a continuing arc. Here, right. We're probably going to be debating this offline, maybe even online, for a couple months, and definitely at least a month before it. When we see the first trailer.
Oh yeah,
for season 2.
I mean, getting like prepared for the launch of season 2, I think is going to be just as much fun as finishing season 1.
Absolutely. And I'm sure we'll be dissecting the trailer 10 ways.
Okay. Until then, Pete, thank you for an emergency episode. And listeners, thank you for tuning in. Pete, what do you think?
I think that if you've got any reasons why you think that Rhaenyra shouldn't be on the throne, let us know. Drop us a comment below this video. Tweet at us at FNS Podcast, or send us an email, aloha@filmsandstuffpodcast.com. And I reiterate that this is a must subscribe. It's one of the rare must subscribe perfect 10s for Films and Stuff.
I agree. I don't think we've ever used that rating before, but I like it. I think it captures exactly where we are with this, which is it's absolutely worth your money. Subscribe to HBO Max, watch the entirety of the season, savor it, enjoy it, watch it a second time. I think I said on a recent episode, I went back and I watched Game of Thrones, the first season all over again. It was really instrumental. So many details that I've forgotten, 12, 14 years later.
Yep.
I think House of the Dragon is the same.
Yeah.
Well done to HBO. I have to say, when they announced this,
I was super skeptical.
Same.
My first question was, why? Why do we actually need to see this? This is, nonsensical. And I thought it was just them trying to ride on the coattails of Game of Thrones to kind of be like, what's our next big fantasy epic going to be in terms of content? But kudos to them. They've pulled it out of the hat. They've given us a compelling story. And again, even though we know how it ends from 170 years from now, we're quite intrigued and interested in seeing where it goes.
Indeed. All right, Pete, thank you for your time on this emergency episode. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Tweet at us, send us comments, and we'll get back to you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ethan.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day ahead. Bye.
Good night, guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.